Hey, y'all, welcome to Sales for Everybody, where we're here to democratize and demystify access to careers in sales, specifically tech sales. I'm Tiff. I am what I will call the head expert for this. And as I continue to build out this platform for education and informational purposes, you will get to know more about me. But with this first installment, the goal really is just to introduce you to the purpose, get you some good media information in about 10 minutes, and send you on your way. So, our mission here is again about demystifying the path to lucrative and impactful careers in sales, especially tech sales for everybody. Mainly because I learned in my career, very long and windy road to get to tech sales, that there just wasn't a lot of information available. And there weren't a lot of people who looked like me working in my function. There still aren't. And so this initiative was born. My intent with this is to share this content free and to ensure that people can get to it on social channels and use other forms of monetization to get paid for the little bit of time that I'm spending on this outside of working hours. So, please know that this is for the people. So, who am I exactly? You're probably wondering, who is this lady talking to us? So I'm Tiff. I likely won't ever fully disclose my full identity. The intent there is just to make sure that I can retain some privacy, but also focus more on the people who are listening to the sound of my voice and not about myself. I don't want this to be a platform about promotion for the people, for myself, or for the people I invite here. We are here to help increase the pipeline of folks who understand that tech sales is a viable career path for them, and then eventually other paths in sales as well. You'll see here, I do a lot. I've done a lot. I'm a millennial, and so you want to date me, you can date me. And I've done a lot in a lot of different industries. So I've gone from the private sector to the public sector. I've worked in engineering capacities. I've also done my own startup. I've spent some time on Wall Street, a very brief time on Wall Street, and I've also done a number of other things in my career. But the main thing I've learned in the last few years is that tech sales is a very cool and very fun career that a lot more people should be in, especially folks who look like me. And so my journey, just for some history of my career path, like I mentioned, I was born in the 80s, some 80s baby. My early 2000s was I was in high school, college, and I was living my life. In 2010, like I mentioned, I worked in a bunch of industries. If my credibility ever comes into question, so be it. I know what I'm talking about. You have nothing to lose, and neither do I. But I hope that you know that I'm here with the most sincere of intents to help you get to a really good career path. In the 2010s, I went and got an MBA. We could talk about that another time about whether or not it's necessary. I don't think it is for this career path, but if you choose to pursue it, so be it. In the 2020s, especially during the pandemic, the panorama, the panini, whatever you want to call it, I became an adult apparently, and I got into tech and tech sales. And present, my goal is to help y'all do the same thing. So my intent with this is to be super informal, super informative, and also very casual, so that you all feel, like you're talking to a friend or a coach, not some distant personality on the World Wide Web. So now let's talk about where we're going. So we've covered the mission of this. Again, this is the first session of this. I've introduced myself as your head expert. You'll hear me invite other experts into the room to talk. Then we're going to talk more about how this works in terms of the information sharing process and the way that I set this up. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual career path. Like what is like a 100,000 foot view of a career path in tech sales, which there are a few. I'm going to focus on two today. Then we're going to talk about what it looks like to get started today. And at the end, I will never ask you to like, subscribe, or save if you're not enjoying it. But if you are, please do like, subscribe, and save, and share with a friend or anyone else you think that might find this interesting or helpful. Cool? Let's get into the meat and potatoes. So let's talk about how this works. So there's three main pillars. Number one, our education method is really to be casual, informative, like I mentioned. Don't want to inundate you or overwhelm you with complex terms or things that you can't take away and actually do tomorrow. Empowerment. So I want you to feel empowered. Go out and do 20 cold outreaches on LinkedIn after getting some information from me. It means I've done my job. And then encouragement. So this content is designed to encourage, not disparage. Same goes for the comment section. Comment section on YouTube can be a very powerful place if it's heavily curated. and folks are really intentional about the questions and discussions that they're asking, can almost operate as like a chat room or a cafeteria during lunch, right? Folks can just have these conversations, but I just ask that you keep it to sharing your personal experiences, the things that you care about. And as we continue to build this community, folks can share their successes, their wins, their losses, and we can all learn from them. Cool? Cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what it looks like, okay? So consider me your Sherpa, right? So I'm following you along this journey. Thank you to Canva for my animation. I'm following you up this mountain of what we call different peaks of success, right? And so think about me as your Sherpa. I'm going to carry you up this mountain as tell you where base camps are going to be located, where you should stop and take a break. I'm going to help get you food. I'm going to help get you air. I'm going to help tell you this is where there's probably going to be a bump. It's not going to be a one size fits all approach, obviously, but my goal is that you at least have enough to be dangerous out in the real world. And then you can get to whatever mountain peaks of success you've defined for yourself. I've thrown a few here up on the screen as an example. But if it's money, great. You definitely can make money in tech sales. And if you go look on YouTube at some of the more well known sales education platforms that are talking about this, you'll see very quickly that they were able to get $350,000, $500,000, $600,000 years just off of one good sales year. Success for you may mean you have more free time, more autonomy with your family. Sales is one of those careers, especially tech sales, where you do get a lot of control over your calendar, which is one of the main benefits. And then again, is it, or is it you just want to, have some sort of long lasting legacy? I don't know. You got to figure it out for yourself. We'll talk more about that in a future session. All right. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into the two core roles that we'll be covering, at least in this session, and I'll continue to unpack this for the next couple sessions. And then I'll have different chapters explaining, and or introducing people who are in these capacities. So there's two main people, right? When you think about tech sales, there's probably like 1,000 things going through your mind. I want to simplify this very plainly. If you've ever been to any business or storefront, like let's use Chick-fil-A as an example. Chick-fil-A has they have those iPads, right? Where you order your food. There is software on those iPads, right? Chick-fil-A had to purchase and acquire that software. That's likely some software as a service or SaaS provider. There was likely an account executive, meaning the commercial slash call it like deal side of the deal, meaning they basically help ensure that the money, the budget, and the timing and the paperwork worked out for Chick-fil-A to buy the software. And then you have the solutions consultant side, the technical side of the sales, which is this person is that's my role and my current function at a really large software company. That is the technical advisor, trusted advisor to the buyer through this process. Now, if you need to put this person in like a slot in your mind, so to speak, I'm going to use an American reference just because it's the best one that I have. Think about the account executive as a quarterback of the team. The solutions consultant could be seen as a core component of that offensive line, meaning they're a wide receiver. They are the offensive coordinator, meaning they're a coach on the sideline, helping to guide the team, or they could be like the GM up in the box, right? In any case, the main part is just making sure that the buyer is buying the right thing for them. Okay. And so with that, there's a process of having a career in sales. And I'll dive a little bit more about that here. And so if you want to think about a thriving career in tech sales as an account executive, right? And I can do an alternative one for solutions consultant in another session. There's a few years here of build. So you have the person who just came out of school, call it high school, college, whatever. Some people go straight from high school into college or into sales. Some people don't. And if depends on the type of sales you're trying to get into. In tech sales, you probably need at least a bachelor's degree or an associate's, right? It could be in business, it could be in marketing, it could be in anything, but you need to have some sort of like higher education. Year two, you can become a sales development rep or equivalent. So if you go on like LinkedIn, if you want to find like a really easy task today, just go look up sales development rep. Those roles are readily available. They are very much high intensity, high volume output roles, meaning you are being measured on the number of calls you make, the number of touches you can have with a prospect. We'll talk more about that later. Then years 3 and 4, that person is also usually promoted to a junior account executive, right? So this is someone who now has some level of quota that they're meaning money that they need to bring in the door and close on by a specific period in time. Usually quarterly is how most software as a service companies are set up to sell. By year 5, this person is usually promoted to account executive. So now this person they are carrying a quota, meaning that they have a line of business that they are responsible for growing, maintaining, and managing. And this business could be 1, 2, 4, 5 million, right? So in my current role and capacity, supporting two account executives, which is the usual split you'll see with solutions consultants to account executives at large software companies, is around 5 to 6 million spread across my two account executives. Those two account executives now, they go out and hunt, and I help them generate new potential opportunities, help them evaluate potential opportunities, and decide on what's best. Year 6, you make some money, right? So this is when you start to get your feet under you, and more seasoned account executives, you really start to burn. And now there's definitely some cyclicality. That's not probably not even a word, whatever. There's a cyclical nature to sales. And so you have up years and down years, right? And so while you might have a $600,000 year or $400,000 year one year, you might have a $120,000 year the next year. And so you often hear people say, like, you got to get in, really get your feet on the ground. And if you're successful at an organization, stay, because that means you've found your place in terms of what you can sell really well. And then beyond that, you can decide. And I'll probably invite some sales leaders in, just so you can get an understanding of, like, what does a director of sales look like versus a individual contributor. Very different experience, very different path. Cool. And very quickly, just to get to kind of the DNA of an account executive and a solutions consultant, in my opinion, they are essentially very similar. They have a lot of the same core components. They have very good soft skills. They're not strange. They're very easy to understand, meaning that they can communicate clearly, which I'm trying to do with you all today. And I hope I'm doing a great job. Let me know in the comments if I am. They also can pass the airplane test, meaning that this is someone that you wouldn't mind being on a plane with for 3 hours, and you would not hate talking to them, right? So they're just normal, conversational, curious, which is this last bullet here, people. The main difference, though, between the DNA of a solutions consultant and the DNA of account executive is that the commercial side of the sell, as I mentioned in the first earlier slide with the two roles, that requires a different skill set. That is very much you need to be able to go out, figure out paperwork, figure out how to get a deal done, meaning the lunch dinners and all that other stuff, and all of the, like, technical, not the technical, but all of the financial stuff associated with that, which we'll dive deeper into another session. There's also the technical side of the sale. So there's two sides of this deal that need to happen. Me, as in Tiff, I typically show up a little bit differently on conversations with customers, because my responsibility is to ensure that the customer has the right solution. I'm not attached necessarily to, I do care about the deal itself, but I am attached to selling the right solution for the right problem, and ensuring that the use case that the pain, or of the pain that we've heard, is appropriate for our solution. That's my responsibility to the business, because ultimately, when you look at high performing software as a service companies, they will always refer to a line of renewals, right? So, what is the renewal rate of a contract with the customer? High performing SaaS companies have 98 to 99% renewal rates, which are really, really hard to maintain. And the way that they maintain them is that the person in the pre sales, so my role before the sale is done, in my role, they want to make sure that I'm selling the right thing and that we can grow the account strategically with this customer. Now, for smaller vendors, smaller software solutions, this is slightly different, and we can talk about the nuances again later. Let me know in the comments if you want to know that. But that's where things start to get a little bit different. Okay. All right. So I've talked a lot. Let's talk a little bit about where you can maybe get started, maybe some tasks, things you want to look up. So today, go research some particular industries of interest. If you've already done that, great. Proud of you. But it could be tech sales, it could be equipment sales. I don't know. Go get some clarity. Go ask yourself some hard questions. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? How do you define success? What's important to you? Tomorrow, come up with some questions you would want to ask someone who works in that industry. So if you did have 30 minutes or even 15 minutes with someone from a role or a company that you really admire on the internet, something that you found, what would you say to them? What would you ask them? And then next week, you should still have more questions and less answers. That's the point. The goal here is just to get you curious, get you understanding what's going on. All right. And so in the comment section, talk about what brought you here, what brings you here. Like, why are you looking at this? What piqued your curiosity? Have you worked in sales before? Have a discussion. I'm happy to respond and chitter chatter with you all in the comments. But more than anything else, be sure to like, subscribe, and save if this content resonated with you, and do let me know what you thought. And we'll definitely see you at the next session. Thanks.